So hello gamers, I'm constantly being asked in videos about the M16A3 specifically and the AK47 specifically. So in today's video, I'm going to be comparing the M16 class versus some of the AKs that are similar in those specific classes. Let's go for 1,000 likes on this, but anyways, let's get into it. Our first gun is the M16A3. Keep in mind that the 223 Remington ammo type will be getting a nerf, but this gun will be getting a buff in the future. So at the moment, it's a 4 to a 5 shot, and with 223, it is a 4 to a 6 shot. It has 800 RPM and a 40 round mag with the extended mag and default a 30. So the magazine capacity without 223 is the same as the AK47, but it gets a bigger magazine when you put on 223 Remington, and it also fires quite a bit faster than the AK47. However, on the other hand, we have, of course, the AK47. The AK47 does quite a bit more damage, and while it does fire slower and has a slower reload time, it has very similar handling. It just has the disadvantage of course, having the slower reload time and smaller mag. And it also has a bit more recoil, but it does a lot more damage. It does 42 damage instead of 32, so 10 more damage, and with hollow points, it does 50 damage, so it can two-shot anywhere, and it still has 600 RPM instead of 800, but that's still pretty good. So basically, you have a 2-shot gun with recoil versus a 4-shot gun with no recoil. That's basically what you have here, and this is really just up to personal preference, but overall, I would say the AK-47 is better due to the 2-shot kill really easily, and with hollow point, it's literally just a 2-shot anywhere. But even without hollow point, if you hit one headshot and one shot to, I believe, even the limbs or the torso, so one body, one head, you can 2-shot really easily. And if you're running hollow point, it is 2 to the body anywhere, including like the leg. Like you can hit a guy 2 times in the freaking pinky toe and he will die. Overall, for this one, I would say that the AK-47 is better, but the M16A3 does have the bigger magazine and faster reload times and stuff, and overall still makes it very good. But next up, we have the AN94 versus M16A4. The AN94 does way more damage than the M16A4 when you are running the 7.62 attachment. Actually, it's pretty similar, and if you're not running 7.62, it does less damage and has a slower rate of fire, and it only has a 2-shot burst instead of the M16A4's 3-shot burst. However, it does have automatic after the burst, so if you want to burst it, you can burst it, and you can use auto, which the M16A4 is just burst. Basically, from this one, if you put on 7.62, you have a lot of recoil, but a very good automatic gun after the burst. And default, like, the damage isn't super good, but it's alright. The problem with it is, of course, with a 2-shot burst, you're not really going to be able to 1-burst. However, the M16A4 is default a 3-shot kill, has very low recoil, and while it's only a burst, it can actually 2-shot headshot, which the AN94 can also do that with 7.62 only. So this is a 3 and a 2-shot versus the AN94, which is either a 4 and a 3 or a 3 and a 2. And overall, I would actually say M16A4 is better despite it having not an automatic mode. The M16A4 is a very low recoil, really good burst if you can get the burst down. That makes it kind of crazy to use and makes the range capability of it kind of just broken, to be honest. You're pretty much guaranteed to get at least 1 hit marker per burst, which yes, you could tap fire from a different gun, but it's not really going to be super effective with the initial recoil of guns, and the bursts are just very easy to tap fire because that's the only way you can use them really. So M16A4 is better due to velocity, ranges, headshot multi, and just how overall really solid it is. Now the M16 LMG is basically the Colt LMG. Now the Colt LMG is very interesting because it does have a 60 round mag, however it reloads very fast for that. It has about the same reload time as the RPK, which I'm going to be comparing it to. However, the RPK has a 40 round magazine and this has a 60. So this is a 700 RPM gun that is a 3-shot to a 5-shot. It can't 2-shot headshot or anything. It's basically just a 3-shot, but it has pretty much lower recoil than the RPK, shoots faster and reloads pretty fast despite it having 60 rounds, which makes it a very good LMG. The 5-shot kill at range is not amazing, but it's not too bad. But then we have the RPK. Now the RPK is a 4-shot, nearly a 3-shot all ranges, and kind of like the AK, it's default pretty good, but if you put on hollow point, it's a 2-shot anywhere, and it has 600 RPM instead of 700, which means it's actually kind of less of a difference between the Colt LMG and the RPK, the M16A3 and AK47, which kind of makes the differences between the two better in this case because the RPK has less of an RPM difference and a crazy damage difference that makes this one kind of insane, like 40 round mag, 2-shot anywhere. I would definitely say there's a lot of reasons to use the Colt LMG. I would say it's probably better than the M16A3 as far as like general purpose goes. The Colt LMG has the 3-shot kill, it's got the RPM, but it's also got the big magazine and everything. That that just makes it really good. But this gun can two-shot anywhere, and it's like, that just makes it way better, you know? Our two PDWs will be the Colt SMG and the Krinkov, also known as the AKS 74U. Now, the Colt SMG is a very fast-firing 3-shot gun with a lot of vertical recoil that is very easy to control, making it a very fast time to kill. It has a long barrel and a full stock, and it's just kind of crazy, not gonna lie. It just vaporizes everything within like a 5-mile radius if you just pull down. Like, the default recoil is like this, but then like, it's not really that difficult, man. Either way, if you're looking for a good CQC PDW, this is the one for you, man. Next up, though, you have the Krinkov. The Krinkov has a few different ammo conversions. Default, it can two-shot headshot, but not very far, and it does very similar damage to the Colt SMG with like worse ranges and stuff, and worse RPM. And with 7.62, it can two-shot headshot and does a ton of damage to the body. It's just kind of loud. I'm gonna actually get out the 9mm conversion so I don't blast your guys' eardrums. So this does have the advantage of either the damage or the recoil control. As you can see, this is without controlling it. It's still very low recoil. Let's be real, there's like not a lot of recoil here. What you can expect from this AK is basically less RPM and therefore less time to kill. I mean, more time to kill, I guess, like less DPS. But you can expect either better recoil control or better damage and hits to kill. Let's be real, the Colt SMG is just better. Like, there's an advantage to having like the low recoil of 9mm and stuff, but not quite as much advantage to make up for the fact that it isn't a 1000 RPM gun. Let me know what you guys think about the Krinkov in the comments. This one's a weird one because like originally I really hated this gun, and then I was like, wait, this is good, but it's still not the best. DMRs, this is not really an M16. It's very similar though, so I will be comparing the Mark 11 with the SKS, and these are very, very similar guns actually. The main things here is that the Mark 11 does more damage and the SKS fires faster. So basically the Mark 11 is a kind of slow shooting gun. I actually have the muzzle booster attachment, and it has some kick, but it has a very fast recovery speed, and it can two-shot torso to 110 studs, two-shot headshot all ranges, and kill with one head and one torso. So you can actually two-shot somewhat easily at range, but the RPM of it is very difficult to get down. However, it can three-shot anywhere on the body at any range, which means you can easily tap a guy down at long range, and up close, it's not too bad, you know? But the RPM is slower, the kick is higher, and the SKS just has the advantage of the more RPM and easier to use. The SKS only does 40 to 32 instead of 45 to 38, so it can two-shot up close, but only to the head. So it's usually a 3-shot. It's a 4-shot torso all ranges. Well, actually a 4-shot limb, a 3-shot to the torso at all ranges. So you can still 3-shot to the body, but it's a bit more difficult. However, the recoil overall is a lot lower, and it has a lot more RPM. So this is a more spammy DMR, I would say. But as far as DMRs go, if you really want the spamminess and the easy to use part, the SKS is just easier to use. But if you want a better DMR, I would say the Mark 11 is better. For battle rifles, we have the AK-12BR and the Beowulf ECR, because these are both kind of an AK and a M16 more or less. The ECR can two-shot anywhere, including limbs, up close due to its 52 damage. It can two-shot torso really far, like 100 studs, I think, and two-shot limb to like 80 studs, and it kind of just vaporizes people up close, if I'm gonna be real. And it does fire faster than the AK-12BR does default, and has a faster reload time, but this gun has more recoil, only a 10-round magazine instead of a 20-round magazine, and the AK-12BR has the advantage of a hyperburst. Like I said, AK-12BR a little bit slower reload time, but lower recoil, and the advantage of a burst, which is a 1000 RPM burst, which can kind of kill people up close. Not quite as well as it used to, but it's still somewhat viable. The automatic fire rate is only 700 instead of 780, which isn't a huge deal, but personally, I would say that the ECR is better. The AK-12BR does have advantages, but let's be real, the two-shot anywhere is kind of better, and the RPM is better, and if you're not quite as good, then the AK-12BR is probably better, but if you're really good at hitting those shots right away, then the ECR is just going to be better overall for CQC. For sniper rifles, I think we'll just compare Intervention and the SVDS. Both of these are not technically speaking M16s or AKs, but the Intervention is American, and the SVDS is a Kalashnikov gun, so I'm just gonna count it. The Intervention has a 150 stud torso kill range. Keep in mind, this gun will be getting a nerf soon, and has 50 RPM, 45 with the straight pull bolt, and a 7-round magazine. The SVDS shoots faster, has a built-in 10-round magazine, and a built-in straight pull bolt, essentially. So you don't have to lower the RPM to be able to shoot while aiming in. It's also semi-automatic, of course, and it is actually improved with things like the muzzle booster, which the Intervention is not. However, Intervention has higher velocity and damage and torso kill range, but the SVDS has the default bigger magazine. As far as I know, faster handling. The SVDS also has the advantage of just using the remove stock, because there's really no disadvantage. On the Intervention, you kind of have to use straight pull bolt depending on how you're running it, which makes remove stock kind of not as viable, but on this gun, you can just use it and there's no problem. But yeah, as far as sniper rifles go, these are both really good. I would say that the intervention is better in my opinion because double the torso kill range and the higher velocity and stuff, but the SVDS is probably better for just CQC engagements and stuff because of the faster RPM and things. I just say it's really up to you. SVDS is not getting a nerf and intervention is, so that kind of tells you which one is probably better, but like they're both pretty balanced in my opinion. SVDS is one of the few guns that really does compete with the intervention and has some serious upsides over it. It's going to be interesting to see if the SVDS becomes like the #1 sniper with the M16, TRG, and a bunch of the snipers getting changes or nerfs. I feel like the SVDS might come out on top because K14 is getting a nerf. A ton of different guns are getting a nerf, man. But yeah, gamers, there you have it. That is the AKs versus the M16s and Phantom Forces. I had to make a couple creative liberties there to make some of them actually fit up in terms of matchups. And obviously, these are not the most comparable guns in the game. Just thought I would because some people were like, hey, you should make a video on this. And I was like, you know what? I guess I will. Even though it would make a ton of sense to compare these guns, it's interesting to see which of them is better. And it's very interesting to compare two guns that are not very similar. Usually I compare guns like C7A2, M16A3. Like the two of those are very comparable. But you can't really compare guns that are very, very statistically different because they're each good in their own niche. They don't really perform the same purpose, you know? Like M9 versus Glock 17, that makes sense. Those are very similar pistols. You could say one of them has higher velocity and the other one has like lower recoil and stuff, you know? But the AK47 and M16 are just like so different. Same with all of them. But yeah, this was a pretty interesting video. Make sure to like and sub if you're new. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.